going
Come
to
as you
change
are,
you.
but I'm going to change you.
Come as you are, and I'm going to literally do the opposite of what I said the purpose of this was. That didn't even happen in the first season. So it makes me feel like, were you clear on your purpose?
It became about her ego. It became about proving to other people that she is a success. I told you I'm bored and overeducated.
Here we go again. Hey, everybody. We are so excited to be here with a few bonus episodes of Bored and Overeducated, talking about, of course, the America's Next Top Model documentary, because we are all abuzz and there is so much to discuss. And when me and Bestie watched it, we were like, yeah, we definitely got to cover this one. So welcome back to the Bored and Overeducated Podcast. As always, I am your host, Dr. B, and I am here with my wonderful best friend, W. Introduce yourself again, W, to the people.
Hi, everyone. I am W, and I'm not sure if we are extremely elated to be here talking about this particular subject. I do not have mixed feelings. It did not leave me with good feelings, after, watching this particular piece of media. Um, but it needs to be talked about. It
It
needs to
does. It
be broken
does.
down. It needs addressing in so many ways. And there's so many angles to approach this. So let's just get started. So
Yeah,
we're
I
talking,
agree. Wait, but really quick, y'all, just so you know, unlike other episodes, we're going to be doing very minimal editing so that we can get this to you ASAP. So this is going to be really raw, really real, just so that we're getting it out so that the listeners can enjoy. You all know you all are our third bestie, right? So we want to be able to get things to you in a prompt timing. So we're just going to be putting these out, and they're going to drop each day. So we have this one coming out right now, which is Friday, the 20th of February. Then we will have the next one on Saturday and then Sunday, right? So if you're listening, depending on the date, they might already all be out, or you might be waiting at the minimum 24 hours for that next one to drop. And please subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can be alerted as soon as everything is out. Now go for it. Sorry about that. Had to let them, we forgot to tell them that.
no need to apologize, friend. I appreciate you. So we're talking about the American Next Top Model documentary, which is called
Yes,
Reality Check on Netflix, right? And
we
so,
sure are.
so for those who don't know, who are unfamiliar, or if this show is something new to you, it premiered in 2003. Many will say a different time. But we'll see about that. We'll break that down later on this video. And it followed Tyra Banks, a
Hmm.
notable 90s supermodel, who went on a venture to, by her words, expand the palette of what it can be considered, or what is considered beautiful within the modeling industry. And so, May of 2003, Tyra and UPN, Ken Mock, one of the producers, and three of her besties, Miss J, Jay Manuel, and Nigel Barker, um, started the show American's Next Top Model, where we see impressionable young women, who either just became legal adults or who were still, young adults.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20,
Mhm.
21. I think most people were between like 18 and maybe 22 years old. And if we all
Right.
think back to that time, especially because of the like significant amount of unresolved trauma, generational trauma, we are even more young minded at those ages still. But imagine back in 2003, right? Because for a lot of these models that were coming, the contestants, they
Mhm.
even said that they came from really difficult homes where they had a lot of trauma, and then you're putting them into this environment where they initially are all really excited about, wow, this is going to be some kind of beautiful opportunity where I'm going to learn more about how to love myself, and I'm going to have a voice, and I'm going to be able to express and be me. And that's not quite what
Look,
happened.
Tyra Banks her intentions were to create models, were to sculpt these
Mhm.
women into being models for the industry, which is kind of contradictory to what she intended for the show to be because
Mhm.
she shopped the show to expand what beauty can be in the model
That's what she
industry. And
said.
that's what she said. But when the show started, all right, she said, you know what? You're all blank canvases, and we
Yeah.
need to create you in a way that is marketable for
Mhm.
our advertisers, for campaigns, for the modeling industry. So pretty much saying, I like you as you are, but I won't take
Come
you
as
as
you
you are.
are, but I'm
Come
gonna
as you
change
are,
you.
but I'm going to change you.
Come as you are, and I'm gonna literally do the opposite of what I said the purpose of this was. I mean, I
Yes.
would understand okay, hard to find the right word here. Let me not even try to use a word. Instead, I would say it would be one thing if she had at least 1, maybe 2 seasons where her purpose was clearly lived into. But that didn't even happen in the first season. So it makes me feel like, were you clear on your purpose? Because you out the gate already were acting like the current modeling industry when you claimed that your purpose was to be different, to challenge them, to show them that success can exist, right? By allowing people to love who they actually are and embracing the diversity of body types and the diversity of identity. That's what you said, but that's not what you did. And I love the point that you made, W, before we got on about like how her path to getting this on air probably affected the loss of her vision. So I think we should like talk about that. So can you share what, to our listening besties, what you told me before we started recording?
Right. So Tyra Banks shopped the show to many networks from CBS to NBC to ABC, and she got no's from everybody. And
Mhm.
she compared it to her time as a beginning model, where she was getting doors closed on her and told no because she didn't fit a certain look at that time. And so she said, shopping the show around, people weren't getting it right until she got this, because she got a yes from UPN. And I think what happened, and we discussed this a little bit, is that, look, being told no can be painful, right?
For
When you
sure.
want something to
100%.
happen, yeah, when
Mhm.
you want something to happen, being told no and does hurt is seen as a roadblock, right? And in her experience, no's means not right now. So it's one of these, I would say that her push to get the show on air and
Yes.
then to keep the show on air to make it
Mhm.
successful, it was no longer about the people she was sculpting or the vulnerable women that came
Mm-mm.
into her presence. It became about her. It became about her ego. It became about proving to other people that she is a success, that
Yeah, she started
her
abiding
ideas, yeah, that
by
her
it.
ideas are marketable, that her ideas are what people should be buying into. That's
Mhm.
what the show ended up becoming. It was not about what she intended it to be or what she shopped it around to be. And I
Mhm.
think that's the not think, from what I saw, that is what was not being said. And I'm not sure if she's done the work to rebuild that within herself, to see that that's what it was, or if it was legal, meaning I can't say it was my ego that pushed me to make these women change their teeth, to make these women change their hair, to make these women
But
change
I
their
would
skin
I would
complexion.
even go further because I know I was also sharing with you that I feel like
Yeah.
this is genuinely a reflection too of what happens when people have not really been doing enough trauma work before they try to enter into an environment that relates to their unresolved trauma. And I think this is a prime example of that because I agree with everything you're saying. She started
Mm.
being obsessed about her new vision after all the rejections and trying to prove a point, but I feel like that vision was plagued by the trauma she had went through, right? I don't think it's a
Uh,
coincidence that she ends up now thinking, "Oh, you have to be this thin," or, "Oh, I need to get rid of this gap in your teeth," or, "You're not good enough," or whatever. Like, she sounded just like them, so much so that not even realizing how her subconscious mind was still very much so shrouded with all of that messaging. And even though I think there was a part of her that wanted to believe that she had done enough work to be evolved from that, her actions showed us that she had not. Because I get hearing no, but they're also, and how hard that can be. But it's also like once you got a yes, there wasn't like a, okay, let's get back on track to making sure that we're challenging, right? It was, no, we're going to now do what the industry wants. She went back into this energy of being a sheep instead of a shepherd and leading a new way of being in the modeling industry. And sure, it would have been, there would have been uproar about that, but that also would have brought ratings. I mean, sure, she had
right.
moments here or there. They brought in people who wear a size 10 but didn't even like get them the right clothes and then shame them for it. So it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But we'll talk more about that in the part 2. But I think she lost her vision quickly because she saw an opportunity to build something, and I think she prioritized that more, right, than she did her original mission.
And this is my issue with wanting to have a seat at the table because it was no longer in her hands. She In other parts of the documentary, she talked about what the executives above her were
Mhm.
asking for, right? Um, and this is a long conversation that needs to be had with many people, in that wanting to have a seat at someone else's table, meaning shopping her show around at other networks instead of trying to get the show off the ground herself, like doing the let work of creating her own production company, um, um, becoming her own distribution center, and then making um, ways to get connected to cable networks, right? Like this is the system, or we understand that we don't have these things, right? So, but one of the reasons why we don't have these things is because we're not collectively coming together to get these things. And what I want to focus on is this: it takes so many people before we get a product. It takes so many people
Yeah,
working together before we get a product, right?
yeah.
And so what I'm saying is this: she had the idea, she just
Mhm.
needed the backing. But she already had a team
Yes.
ready, locked, and loaded, right?
Yeah.
And what we're seeing, or what it was, is her walking to someone else's table, sitting down at that table, and then allowing other people to put things on her plate.
To take the reins, and then
It's to take the
being
reins, and
essentially brainwashed into believing it was her vision, right?
when it was no longer, well, okay,
No.
it was her vision, it was her idea, but the
Initially.
product was not hers, right?
No, and I think she was
That's another
distracted
thing.
because her team was there. I think she
Mhm.
also thought, because I still get to bring on, Miss J, and I get to have Jay, the photographer there, and my friends essentially that I have
Yeah.
have created or built relationships with over my career. She was kind
Mhm,
of, it was like dangling this carrot and saying, "Well, this is still your baby, right? Because we're letting you
mhm,
bring in these individuals who at the time there would be a lot of potential uproar, right, because of people's ignorance, right, in
mhm,
terms of Miss J and their identity, or even Jay and his identity, right? So I
mhm.
think because she still got to like have her friends who represented the beauties of human diversity during a time where people were even more um like just ignorant about that fact, right? And more like, they showed that clip of I think it was Ebony, who yes, okay. Yeah,
Harlem, New
who
York, cycle 1.
yes, yep. So
Mhm,
Ebony and wanting to bring her girlfriend, right? And so they
mhm.
showed that. And remember, they showed that one of the other models saying she was offended, so it just really shows the time,
Robin.
right? And so I
Mhm,
think because Tyra got to have her friends there, she was kind of forgetting the other part of this, which is like it wasn't just to have beautiful representation through your friends, right? It's
Mhm.
also to make sure that these models that you're bringing on are representing something new that challenges the current industry, and it just didn't happen. So and it just yeah, it just got lost very fast.
So, some positives, because I don't want this to always be negative.
It's not gonna be
Here's some
negative.
yeah. Here's some positive things, right? Change doesn't happen unless you make it happen,
That is
right?
true.
You things don't just gradually get better. You actually have to put in the work for it to get better, right?
Yes,
Sometimes you have to lead a revolution. Sometimes heads must roll in order for change to occur. And a positive thing about America's Next Top Model is that she pushed the envelope of who can be on TV.
she
Not
did.
just her,
Yes,
not
she did.
not yeah, not just her, but other people as well. But Tyra being the face, I would give her that. She pushed the envelope to who can be on TV, and she's part of the reason why there is more diversity on television and movies and stuff like that. So we can give her that,
Oh
right?
yeah, and I agree with you. That is something to give her flowers for a hundred
Mhm.
percent, right? Because she was a part of that movement. And yeah, I don't want to make it sound like she didn't do any good with this. I just have really strong feelings because the bad was really bad. Um so and we just also for the listeners, we just finished watching. We just binged together all 3 episodes. So things
This is why.
are really in a heightened state for a multitude of reasons. But no, W is right. There's credit and flowers to be given for that and other things which we will get to as well.
So I believe that is a positive thing that she was
Mhm.
able to bring diversity to our television screens, right? But on
Yes.
top of that, but on top of that, in the business setting, right? Because she was one of the few women, few black women who were able to get a show, to be a showrunner and to get a show on network television, that also
Mhm.
opened a door for other black women and other black people and other people of color in order to follow, I mean, yeah, to follow those footsteps, right? Or
Absolutely.
allow the execs to be more open to that. And what I really liked about what Tyra was able to do was bring her people with her, such as Jay Manuel, who was her
Mhm.
makeup artist for some time, and also Miss J, who has
Yes.
been with Tyra since she was 15, 16 years old, teaching
16,
her
yeah.
how to
Mhm.
walk on the
Mhm.
runway.
And that started
That's a
so
beautiful thing.
beautiful. Yeah, it's
It is also
hearing that and I do appreciate that, like, I think this part of it for sure she represents the importance of remembering those who
mm,
have been a part of our journey and lifting others up in general, but also of course those who have been on your team. Right. And so she
mhm,
did do that without hesitation. You know, as soon as they were trying to fill these roles, she's like, yeah, I have people already. Right. No need to look any further and gave them, these opportunities that did provide a lot of money and and to be known, right? Because now we know who they are and all of that,
right.
even more so because of how big the show became. Obviously they have made a name for themselves outside of this, but being on national TV, it takes it to another level. um but yeah, we're going to talk about this more in part 3, but we just want to kind of briefly touch on and highlight that especially the relationship between Tyra and Miss J and how they had this really long, beautiful friendship and history where essentially Miss J was a mentor to Tyra. And then we end up watching through these episodes and we see how things really did not end very well with that relationship. And we don't want to unpack that too much with this particular episode, but I do think it's important to just kind of touch on the fact that like it's important to be mindful of, how we go about doing things, even if we feel like it's a necessary thing, how we go about doing things and taking action when we know it's going to be hurtful or disappointing towards the people that we love. And there are ways to do it with more care than what was done.
Absolutely. The thing is, Tyra started to approach this, or maybe she always approached this as a business. And when
Oh,
things were
yeah.
going her way, yeah. And when things were going her way, when everyone was gung ho for her idea,
Yeah.
she was able to, maintain the same dynamics that she always had with them. But when people start expressing discontent with how the show was going, Jay Manuel, for example, who was her makeup artist beforehand, recognized that he was sold an idea that he will have some type of creative control on his section of the show. But then as time went on, he was losing more and more control, and then he wanted to express, not wanted to, he expressed
Yeah.
what was happening to Tyra, and then said, I think it was my time. Things changed.
Yeah.
She changed. She
Yeah.
pulled back. Things
Mhm.
became legal.
Mhm.
Same thing with Miss J.
Mhm.
When Miss J started to recognize, we're not really uplifting these girls, even though Jay Manuel and Miss J and Nigel, they all played a part in psychologically breaking down the contestants,
Yes, it's
right?
important to note
They
that. Yes.
that
Mhm.
like they are you could be a victim and a villain all at the same time. Two
True
truths
that.
can live in one
Yes.
two truths
Mhm.
can live in one, moment or
Yes.
in one person as well. But as they were all expressing their discontent with how the show was going, Tyra changed. And so we see Tyra become personally cold to the people that she had known before the show even became an idea in
Yeah.
her head, right? I mean, everything became business. And so, from my point of view, systemically, this is what corruption looks like,
Yeah.
right? It's not just personal. It is personal. Business
Yeah, yeah.
is personal because because it's not just money, but it's also people's character that you
Yeah.
are tarnishing. The thing that you don't say when you don't speak up for people, that's tarnishing someone's character. That's leaving them vulnerable to the vultures that is business, right? And
Yes.
we need to move away from that. I would say the positive
Yeah.
is that she brought her people along. The negative,
Yes.
she was part of the destruction of not only the contestants, but her friends. Well, yeah, her
Mhm.
friends as well. But also
She
another
brought
thing
them
that I really
along to
want to point out,
slaughter. Yeah. Yeah.
she brought
Now
them to the slaughter.
yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
but most importantly, she allowed people above her to tell her what to do with her show and her people.
And I think it's but again, because we try to value acknowledging nuance, because I think a lot of times people forget to do that. It's so easy to fall into the
Mhm.
black and white, especially when something is like emotionally charged the way this is.
Right,
And I think, to be
right.
fair, just from like a psychological standpoint and as a psychologist, I do understand like the the mental um like difficulties and challenge that comes with that amount of pressure all at once, and also being on a timeline, right? So I do want to acknowledge that like they're shooting things and it has to be done in a certain time and everything's go 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 go, and everything I'm saying right now, just so people understand, this is not an excuse. I don't Anytime you hear me explaining the nuance of something, I'm making the explanation of how different factors could have influenced how things went. I am not excusing anything. Right? There is no excuse, but it's important from an empathy lens for us to understand the explanations behind how we get somewhere, so that we don't forget that there are multiple factors. And I think the rapid succession of the seasons coming out, or even how quickly things were taped and moving, and there not being a lot of time for self-reflection or processing between one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, that also can make people forget who they are, that can cause them to be making decisions that they wouldn't otherwise. And that's not my opinion, that's a scientific fact, right? We've seen that with so many different things around psychological phenomenon. And so I think that did play a major role here, where I don't know how much time there was to process. And this is also why I was telling you that I think that reality TV, because this is kind of the start of it, it's
Mm,
another invention, so to speak, that we as humanity are not ready for. because we haven't even gotten to the point where we have done a great job of implementing just the basic needs of our humanity into our day-to-day lives, right? We still have corporate offices that treat people like they're robots. We still have people thinking that they shouldn't that it's wrong or they shouldn't be allowed to healthily express emotion or cry in different settings. We are still doing a really poor job at embracing our humanity and working with it as a whole, and we have a lot of work to do. So when you create something like reality TV, where you have this on display, potential for a lot of vulnerability, potential for a lot of moving parts, and you have people who are still mentally and emotionally not where we ideally would need to be, right? It can lead to a lot of harm and a lot of trauma, and we saw that. And I think that's just a really important point, that we're advancing so much with technology and the types of TV shows and whatever else, but we're still not prioritizing our mental health enough, and emotional intelligence, empathy, self-awareness, and self-accountability enough, and teaching that from birth and beyond enough in homes in a healthy way for us to be doing things like this. Because if you understood those things as much as we need to, and we prioritized it as much as we needed to, we would not have reality TV moving in such quick succession. We would make sure
We would
people
not have
had.
reality TV at all.
I don't
I'm gonna
know
be
that we
honest.
wouldn't have well, I think there is a way to have reality TV and it not cause harm. I don't remember the name of this show, but there was a show that I watched and it was very wholesome but entertaining. It was
Mhm.
the concept was basically that a bunch of like young adults moved into this house, and they were kind of having these new adult experiences. And no, I'm not talking about like Jersey Shore or something. It was a different show. I just don't remember what it was called. And it was one of the most well done reality shows I had ever seen.
If it was done well, it would still be on the air.
I don't think that's true, because
So,
like
what are we talking about? Are we talking about what is psychologically better or what is mentally healthy for humans, or what are or are we talking about ratings and what business people are looking for?
so okay, great
And
question.
let's continue that in part 2, because
Okay.
we're gonna bring that up, after talking about a particular situation that is very sensitive, and we need to understand why the producers went the way that they did with telling the story that they orchestrated in part 2
Yes.
in Bored
Yes.
Overeducated
Eh,
Podcast. I'm your
mhm,
host, W. This is my wonderful co-host, Doc D, and we're
mhm.
going to continue to break down the dire situations that American
Yes.
Next Top Model caused.
Yep. And just to say it explicitly, we're gonna be starting with Shandy next time, right? And the things that happen with that. So it is gonna have some heaviness to it, but we will be handling it as we always try to do, with care. We look forward to seeing y'all on the next episode, which, depending on when you're listening to this, will be dropping literally in less than 24 hours. So we're dropping them back to back. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in and being here. We love you. Smooches. Mwah, mwah. Subscribe. Okay.